Welcome everyone to another Pokemon Unite character concept, and this one will be for Aerodactyl as a speedster. Don't forget, you guys can look in the description and check out the timestamps for each of the different moves, the abilities, and you can go quickly check those out, or you can listen to me talk about them in each of those different parts, and I will thoroughly explain them all to you guys. And also, please leave any suggestions, any characters you might want me to do in the future, because I am open to doing those as well. But don't forget, I have some other characters planned, so I might not get to them right away. But anyway, here we are with Aerodactyl as a speedster. It will be a melee speedster, and it will be using physical attack as its attack damage. And its general stats, I wanted to make it, since it is a speedster, somewhat mobile, but not really like relying too much on its mobility. It's going to be more of a damage attack heavy speedster rather than a speedster who's just going to run around assassinating enemies. It's not necessarily going to focus on using its speed to run in and run out. It's going to more of use its speed to get in close and do a ton of damage for its team. Probably die in the process. But it can also get out. It does have a bit of scoring. It has a bit of support. Very low endurance, though. Aerodactyl's ability is its main part of its kit. A lot of its attacks, a lot of its effects have to deal with its ability called Pressure. So the first part of Pressure is if Aerodactyl is seen by any player, they gain 1 level of Terror. So I thought, since Aerodactyl is a pterodactyl, might as well have its special effect, since it's also Pressure as its ability, be Terror, Pterodactyl, Terror. It's done on purpose. It's meant to be a little funny. And in the bottom left corner there, you also have the image of what I wanted the Terror design to potentially look like. It's very simple, but, it's what it would look like. It's 3 different marks. And that is how many marks each player can have on them at one time. And if an enemy player, which those are the only things it can be applied to, it cannot be applied to a wild Pokemon, it has to be on an actual player. If they get out of Aerodactyl's line of sight for 4 seconds, then all of those terror marks will go away, whether they had 1, 2, or 3. For each terror mark, Aerodactyl gains an increase in speed and attack speed, 4% per player, and it goes all the way up to 20%. And it only gains this effect not per terror mark, but per player with at least 1 terror mark. So there's 5 players total, so it can have up to 20%, with each terror mark being 4% each. The other part of this effect is that Aerodactyl cannot hide in tall grass. It will have to fly above it, because in order for Aerodactyl to be this menacing pterodactyl and apply this terror, it can't just be hiding, So it's going to fly above and impose its presence on other enemies. So then they will fear and gain some terror marks. So then Aerodactyl can get its boost. One of those boosts comes from its boosted attack. And that is every 3rd attack, Aerodactyl does increased damage based on the level of terror marks on an enemy. So if an enemy has 1 mark, it's 10% more damage. So it's 10% plus the initial damage. 2 terror marks, 15%. 3 terror marks, 20%. So you really want to avoid getting those terror marks on you. Now, Pressure can only apply 1 level of terror. It cannot apply all 3 levels. All 3 levels are applied by its other moves, and it combos with its boosted attacks to do high damage attacks on enemies. And speaking of our attacks, we have our level 1 or level 3 moves, and those will be Bite and Supersonic. They're pretty simple. Bite has a 5-second cooldown, and all it is, Aerodactyl just dashes forward. If it hits an enemy, they gain a terror mark. So it's just your simple level 1 dash. Applies a terror mark, so it's good for its ability. So it can stack a terror mark, plus Pressure applies another terror mark, giving an enemy 2 terror marks, which lets it do 15% more damage. And Supersonic is its other level 1 to 3 move has a 6-second cooldown. Aerodactyl will target an enemy and launch a small little projectile that will hit that one enemy, whether they run away or not. It targets them, so it will hit them no matter what. And it will deal just a little bit of damage and also apply 1 terror mark. These, like I said, are just more meant to be those early level 1 moves that just sort of set it up for its later game moves. They aren't meant to be too dominant. It's meant to be just like a sort of mild early game Pokemon that's going to scale up a little bit later and get a lot more use out of those terror marks. Now we get into Aerodactyl's really scary moves that will apply a lot of terror to its foes. First one will be Roar. Roar is gained at level 5. It's one of the 2 you can gain and has a 7.5 second cooldown. So Aerodactyl unleashes a cry in a surrounding area all around it. And when this hits any player, it hits multiple players if there are multiple in the area, it will apply 1 terror mark to every single one of them. Now, this move also has a bonus effect, and that is if an enemy has 3 terror marks, all enemies that do have 3 terror marks or gain 3 terror marks from the use of Roar will gain a fear effect, which is similar to Sableye fear effect that makes you run away from it a little bit. I think this comes from its boosted attacks only. So Aerodactyl will have one of those, and any enemy around it will run away from Aerodactyl for 0.8 seconds. And Roar Plus just increases the area of effect and gains that at level 11. So what this is meant to do is, once again, like I said, Aerodactyl is meant to run in, and it can use Bite here or its other 2 moves. It gains at level 7, which we will discuss after our level 5 moves. But it will use those, dash in, set some terror marks on things, and if they have 3 terror marks or if they have 2 and are hit by Roar, they will gain the Roar bonus effect, which will be a fear effect, which once again scares enemies, and then Aerodactyl can start chomping away at them with its boosted attacks. Aerodactyl's other level 5 move that it can learn instead of Roar is Scary Face, and this will also have a 7.5 second cooldown. So Aerodactyl, in a similar manner to Roar, will apply 1 terror mark, but instead of in an area around itself, it will be in a cone shape in front of it. And when an enemy has 3 terror marks, they will get their speed reduced by 30% for 3 seconds. So when this were to happen, this sort of allows Aerodactyl to chase and keep up with opponents, and also it seems can keep up with opponents too. And you could chase down your enemies, hit them with all of your stacked up terror marks on them, and hopefully win a fight against them. Scary Face Plus's effect, which it gains at level 11, just like Roar Plus, will lower the damage of those affected. So any damage that an enemy would do to Aerodactyl or any of its teammates will be reduced by 10% if they are hit with Scary Face. So this and Roar are meant to be sort of different. Roar more of sets up for a massive team fight, so Aerodactyl can get in the middle, roar everything, and they're all scared, they're all stunned. Scary Face is more for that chase down potential, and if they try and turn on you when you're trying to chase them, you will take less damage from them. Now we get into Aerodactyl's other moves, which will be its level 7 moves, and these moves sort of allow Aerodactyl to keep up with its enemies and also quickly apply some more terror marks on them. The first of these moves is Iron Head, which it learns at level 7 and has a 6-second cooldown. And the first part of Iron Head is just simply it dashes forward towards an enemy. If it hits an enemy, they take some damage and gain a terror mark. Now, if Aerodactyl hits an enemy with this dash, it will gain a bonus attack or a follow-up attack. And this will be an effect that Aerodactyl gains for 3 seconds after it hits an enemy. And simply, Aerodactyl can slam its head into a ground and it will deal damage to everything in the area. And it will gain a shield for 10% of its total health as long as a player is hit, and all players hit will also gain 1 terror mark. So this is, once again, one of those moves that quickly can stack up 2 Terror Marks and also pairs well with Roar to allow it to dash in, get a Terror Mark on something, and then Iron Head down, gain a shield, get more Terror Marks on everything, and then Roar, get more Terror Marks on everything, and also everything will be feared. Iron Head Plus just allows Aerodactyl to live more by giving it a bigger shield on hitting its follow-up attack. For, instead of a 10% total health shield, it will be a 20% total health shield. Rock Slide is the other move you could take in place of Iron Head, and that is also learned at level 7 and also has a 6-second cooldown. So Aerodactyl, once again, very similarly to Iron Head, will do a dash forward and deal damage to enemies hit, and also those enemies will gain a Terror Mark. So if this attack, once again, hits an enemy, Aerodactyl gains a follow-up attack for 3 seconds. And what this follow-up attack does is Aerodactyl will throw several rocks in a short distance in front of itself. All players hit get knocked back slightly, and also will get stunned for half a second. Those players who are also hit by the rock slide will gain a Terror Mark. So this move is meant to somewhat pair well with Scary Face. So you can dash in, knock back enemies, and then if they try and run away from you, you can Scary Face them, reduce their attack, and also keep up with them if they try and run away from you. Also, the distance of rocks and knockback of enemies are increased with Rockside Plus, which it gains at level 13. Aerodactyl's final part of its kit is called Terrifying Tracking, once again using that same joke. And it gains this Unite move at level 9 and has a 124-second cooldown. And what it does is Aerodactyl will gain the ability to fly over walls, and wherever the closest enemy to Aerodactyl at the time of using its Unite move is, they will be marked with 1 Terror Mark, and this whole effect will last for 10 seconds. The Terror Mark will stay if Aerodactyl is in the nearby radius to them. If it's not, it'll go away after the 10 seconds. Also, along with this, every ally can see the marked player on the map along with you. And if Aerodactyl assists or defeats that marked player, instantly refresh the cooldown of this Unite move by 50%. So what this allows Aerodactyl to do is it allows Aerodactyl to find an opponent, and it can hunt them down, beat them, hopefully at least. And if it does that successfully, it gains some of this Unite move's cooldown back, so then it can use it again shortly after. And at the very worst, if you use this Unite move and don't go after the enemy, you can at least just find out where that enemy is located and know maybe, like, let's say you're doing Rayquaza or Zapdos, whatever the bosses you're doing, you can track them down and be like, oh, hey, there's an enemy here. I can safely do this Rayquaza since they're nowhere near here. So that's another just use you can do for it. So hopefully all of you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. And like I said, please put any comments or anything like that, any suggestions to make these videos better, because I like doing them and I would appreciate a little feedback. Or just tell me, I did a good job. And say you like the character. I appreciate that. Thank you for watching, though. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. So thank you, and goodbye.